Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar on the many uses of transparent commands in Civil 3D. Before we begin, just wanted to go over some logistics. All attendee lines will be muted. You can send us any questions you have via the chat box. The webinar will be recorded for future viewing. And if you have any other questions, please call us at 305-445-6480 or email us at info@ddscad.com. Without further delay, I'd like to pass it along to our Civil 3D specialist, Seth Cohen.
All right, thanks, Alice. All right, welcome everybody. All right, so on the agenda, I'm not really big for PowerPoint, so I won't spend too much time here, but basically I want to discuss what the transparent commands are. We'll go over kind of a brief definition if you've never heard of them or if you've never used them before. We'll go over the differences between the toolbar and the ribbon, which aren't that many, but we'll discuss that. I also, as we're talking through, once you kind of see what the transparent commands are, you'll see why I'm explaining this thing called the tracker. It's something that's very, very useful, especially when doing roadway stuff or anything related to alignments, profiles, or points or things like that. Okay. And then of course we have categories of transparent commands, and we'll go over all of them. I basically kind of categorize them into like survey type commands, alignment type commands, profile type commands, and then you can use, of course, CAD commands, with the transparent commands. All right. All right, so let's jump right into Civil 3D. All right, so the first thing we want to discuss is basically, what are the transparent commands, where are they, and how to use them, and all that good stuff. So the first thing I'll mention is basically, if you may or may not have noticed, but on the right side over here of your screen, okay, is this toolbar here. Let me actually close this out here. I'll get rid of my properties part real quick. So this right here is the transparent commands bar and the transparent command filter bar. Okay, if it's not there, basically the way that you access it is you go to the View tab here, go to Toolbars, and then Civil. So these are all basically right here. Here's how you toggle them on or off, okay? One other way too, very quickly, is to right-click on here and turn them on or off as you want to. Now, that said, so this is pre-2019.2, all right? You had to use the toolbar. So what lots of people would do is they would either kind of drag it out, put it up here, or put it somewhere in the command line area or up here. That way it's not docked, but because again, if you're going to use these quite a bit, once you kind of see the power of them. Now, one of the downsides to the toolbar was basically to kind of see what tool does what. It is categorized like into like survey type area, survey type like tools. Then you have alignment type tools, and then profile type tools, and some other miscellaneous ones here. But you have to like kind of hover or memorize the icons. And it was very, very cumbersome and kind of annoying. Okay. Now I actually don't use the command, the toolbar at all anymore because you don't need it. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and just leave it off. I'm going to toggle it off. But if you do like it, you can just kind of dock it or leave it wherever you like. Now, that said, starting in 2019.2, they added a transparent tab right up here in the ribbon, okay? And as you can see, it's a much better interface in that you don't have to memorize these tools. You see it basically shows you with its nice names and everything where everything is. So I don't use that anymore at all. It took a little bit of getting used to, but once you understand how it kind of, how it's kind of organized, profile, plan, point, etc., it's very, very useful as far as how it's kind of organized. I do like the way what they've done to it. Okay. All right, so again, I'm going to focus it all on the ribbon, okay? So what is that? What are the transparent commands? So transparent commands, as the name implies, work transparently while you're in another command, okay? So basically what you're doing is you're going to call these commands up here, depending on what functionality you're doing. And I'm, of course, going to cover all of them. And you call them transparently while you're in the middle of a specific command. And that command can literally be anything. Okay, and so what I want to do is I'm going to start focusing on just the different categories. Okay, so the first kind of section or category is kind of the survey type kind of commands, and I say that, but it's not necessarily for survey functionality only. It's for basically whenever you have whenever you're dealing with point data or survey type data, or northing, easting, lat, long, etc., and you have to nail down something kind of specific. Okay. So again, these are kind of located on the right side of the Transparent Command ribbon tab, okay? So for instance, let's say I wanted to actually, I have a line, and this happens all the time. Sometimes I'll get wetland locations from a wetland specialist or environmental engineer, and they usually will go out there, and it depends on how technologically savvy they are or what they have for equipment. I may actually be lucky enough to at least kind of get a text file that I can bring in northing and eastings. But most of the times they will have a GPS unit and you have to bring it in through lat long. Okay, some of them are more advanced and they give you a shape file, which is fantastic. I love those guys and gals because I can actually import it or map import it, or just use the map 3D tools to kind of to view it. But lots of times you get wetland people that just don't, they just kind of locate it through a piece of equipment, and then they send you not even a text file, like lat longs or whatever. Okay. So basically what you can do is, if that's the case, instead of trying to convert those, of course, obviously, as long as you have a coordinate system defined in your file, which you should, of course, you can just basically start, the command that you want to draw them in. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I would actually begin the command. So I'm going to just type PL spacebar. That's the Powerline command, right? Everyone knows that. And then again, as the name implies, the transparent commands work transparently or in the middle of another command. All right, and so basically, if you go over here and if you hover for a second, you will see the tooltip. And if you're a keyboard guy like me, you could actually type in 'LL. Just so you know, the apostrophe is AutoCAD, or a functionality for transparency. There are actually AutoCAD transparent commands too. You can actually, like zooming is a transparent command. If I wanted to actually zoom in the middle of the command, I could type 'Z. That would actually work, believe it or not. Now, of course, we don't need to do that. We use our middle mouse button to do all the zooming we need. But that's just how, that's a transparent functionality of AutoCAD, the apostrophe. So if I wanted to type it in, I could type 'LL, or I'll just click it right now. All right, so the way that you know that you're in a transparent command is, again, as I always tell in every webinar, probably, when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window. So up here in the command line window, it's telling me, hey, enter a lat long. Now, one of the other ways that you know that you're still in a transparent command is these two greater than symbols. See the two greater than right there? So that's basically saying you're still in this transparent command, because the nice thing about these transparent commands is they allow you to kind of continue working. So if I had 2 or 3 lat longs I needed to enter, I'm only going to do one just to show it to you, then basically I could actually keep going, and it'll show me that I'm still in the middle of the transparent command with a visual cue of these two greater than signs, okay? So just be aware of that. Now, if you're not familiar with how to actually enter lat longs, this is specific to this transparent command, okay? So one of the things again, everyone should have dynamic input turned on. I know there's still some, kind of old-time users who hate this and they leave it off. But with it on, there are some huge advantages, not just for this functionality, but for just in CAD in general, in my opinion. But basically, if you look at my, cursor, it's actually telling me right at the cursor, enter latitude, and it shows me the format. A lot of people, because I asked by a lot of users, I can't get my lat longs entered correctly. And so it's telling you right now how to actually enter the lat and the long. Now, one of the other really cool things about using dynamic input, right now, I'm going to click on the right arrow key. Notice how now this has focus, right? I'm moving back and forth. So I can now enter it right there. So you could, just so you know, all you need to do is dashes. So for degrees, minutes, seconds, as long as that's what your ambient settings are in the drawing, that's how you're entering it, then basically that's how it's going to do it. So I can, but instead of me trying to figure that out, I could just go in here and say, okay, this is a lat of north. So I'm going to delete those 3 values. And for this one here, it needs to be 30 degrees. I'm using the arrow keys to navigate. So 06 minutes and 12.40. And so 12.40, okay? And then I press enter. And now notice that then it prompts you for the long, right? The longitude. Now, by default, it goes to the east, but I have west in this case. That is hugely important, okay? Make sure, if you don't do the right one, of course, it's not gonna know where you are in the world. So I'm just gonna go in here and just delete W, and I'll delete my degrees. And for my long here, it's going to be 82 degrees, and then 45 minutes and 41.5. So 41.5, and then press enter. okay? And as you can see, it puts a little point there, so it knows exactly where I am. And then notice how it keeps staying in the transparent command. This is the standard functionality of transparent commands for about 90% of them, okay? So again, you're gonna know that you're actually in it by simply, you can see it right there. Now, so here's the thing to kind of get used to, and it does take a little bit of getting used to. When you're done with your transparent command, you press escape once. Make a note of that. Press escape once. Now it puts you back into the original command that you started. Again, these work transparently in the middle of a command. Now, this was an AutoCAD command, but it can be any command, including Civil 3D commands, which we'll obviously get into in a minute here, okay? So I could just, obviously I would have typed in other lat longs. I just wanted to show that to you, typing that in, because I get that asked a lot, is that, again, if I wanted to do this again, have dynamic input on, which is right here. And when you have it on, you can simply use the arrow keys to move around here and define different, degrees, minutes, and seconds, okay? Again, press escape once, gets you out of the command, puts you back into it, but notice how it already placed that point, okay? And of course, I could just keep going, all right? So that's the lat long transparent command, okay? Let's go over some additional kind of survey-related type commands, all right? So I've got a file here. This is an actual project surveyed, and I've got some points, and I want basically what my goal here is I want to show you some transparent commands that are very useful, especially when dealing with, survey functionality or just whatever survey workflows, if you want to call it that. For the simplest one is, let's say I want to zoom to a point. Well, that's right here. So I want to zoom to point 500. As long as that point exists, it zooms right to it. That's beautiful, right? That's fantastic. Instead of having to go all the way to the tool space here, right? Which you could, I could go over here, click on this, scroll down. Actually, let me make sure it's going in the right order, which it is. Scroll up to that point, right? If I know what that point is, or at least an area where that point is, I can just do the zoom to point command, and then I can do my edits or whatever I have to do, okay? So that's really very useful, okay? Of course, you have northing easting. I'm not going to go over that one here, right? Grid northing, grid easting, right? You also have northing easting here as well, so you can just type those in. Right here. So you could actually just do those, right? So you can. It's very similar to entering it as you would expect. Okay. All right, so some of the other things, of course, if let's say you're doing like a legal description, all right, so if I type I'm going to start the line command here, right? Typically, of course, you'll have a point of beginning, so you'll click on a point of beginning. Then you'll have either bearing and distances, or angle distances, or azimuths, or deflection angles, or whatever, okay? So again, if you look at the transparent ribbon tab here, you'll see we have bearing distance. All right, and again, when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window. You can look up here, or in this case, it actually showing you pretty, visually what to do next. It says enter a quadrant. All right, so again, we have 1, 2, right, 3, 4, the standard quadrants, right? So basically, just pick the quadrant you want to go into, or you could type it in the, the command line window, and then of course it prompts you for the bearing. Now, in this case, like I said, it's not with all commands. The dynamic input does not kick in, but it is at least showing you kind of the format that you have to do. So if I want something at 45 degrees, 20 minutes, I can do there's a couple ways to do it. You can do 45D, that's one way to do it, and then 20 minutes with this here, with the apostrophe, and then press enter. Okay, that works just fine. You can also just do dashes if you want to as well, okay? All right, then of course you're typing a distance in here, so I'll type 100 feet, press enter, and now I can just keep going. That's the beauty of this functionality here, okay? And so now I could say, let's say in this direction here, I want to actually go, I'm gonna go with this direction, and my bearing, I'll just pick one arbitrarily here, and then I would type a distance in again. Now, what if, let's say I'm doing some parcel, okay, and the sides of the parcel are exactly square, or they match another length within another parcel or a boundary somewhere. Well, transparent commands to the rescue. If you look up here in the point or the plan category, you'll notice here this really awesome one called match length. So this is useful whenever you are actually you're prompted for a specified distance. And again, that's not just Civil 3D commands. It could be AutoCAD commands. There are many times when you're prompted for a distance. Okay, for instance, the fillet command. If let's say you have a specific, not the fillet command, or the chamfer command. The fillet would be the radius. So the chamfer command, whatever it is, you're prompted for a distance. You just basically, or the offset tool, you could type that in. You could just say match the length. So I could click on match length here. Again, it says select entity to match length. I'll go ahead and click on this. And now it grabbed that there. And of course, if you wanted to kind of just see this here, of course, I could just go to the annotate tab, add labels, and we'll go to line and curve, add that one. We'll just click add here and pick, and then pick. And you can kind of see, of course, there's the length, right, and the bearing and all that good stuff, okay? So again, that match length one is very underutilized. A lot of people don't realize it even exists, and it's really fantastic. And again, it's not just useful for that. Let's say I'm drawing a circle and I want it to match the radius of this. I can click match length, click this, and now I have a radius of that distance. There's 100 feet. And here's another reason why you should use dynamic input. The reason I'm seeing the radius is because dynamic input is turned on. If I turn that off and hover over a grip, I see nothing. If I click on dynamic input and then hover, you see the radius. And again, for those of you not familiar with it, it actually shows you all the different bearings as well as this right here. You can see that working very nicely, right? I can actually see that's defined and showing me all the bearing distances and the length as well, right? So dynamic input is another kind of nice little way of seeing things and so on, okay? So again, that match length is really very useful. We'll talk about the match radius one in a little bit here, okay? All right, so some of the other things and other useful tools as far as, you know, in the survey type processes is, let's say I'm making break lines. And let's say I'm going to use proximity break lines. I've already have the points, but you know, we don't use the whole survey field to finish process, which would automate this. I need to actually create my own break lines. So I can just start the Powerline command. So let me first make sure I set the current layer. So this is bank, I believe. So this is bankment underscore EP. All right, and I'll start the Powerline command, and I already have these Civil 3D points right here, right? So I've got 429 through 436. So instead of me, you know, snap, 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 snap away, I can just click on point number right here. This transparent command. Again, if you hover, it's apostrophe PN. You could just type that in. All right. The reason I'm pointing out the typing in, if you're not on the transparent tab, you know, you have to actually click it, and you know, I'm trying to save you picks and clicks, so you can just type in apostrophe PN. So anyway, so this is 429 through 436. So I just type in 429-436, press enter, and then it basically connects the dots for me, right? And of course, it's a proximity break line. It works because it's leveraging the surface elevations of the points, which are the same points. So again, to get back into the actual Powerline command that I started, what do we do? Press escape once, and now I'm back in the command, okay? And I can just press escape again, right? So you usually press escape twice. All right, now let's say though, all right, so I've got some points here, 100, 101, 102, oops, and then we start going cross-section, right? The surveyor did cross-section method. So instead of me actually trying to figure out all these numbers and typing them in, that's too much of a pain in the butt. Instead, what I'll do is I'll just do we'll just use the break line layer here. I'll go to break line, and then I will start the Powerline command. Okay, now instead of actually typing in numbers, what I can do is grab the point object. This one's actually a lot more useful sometimes if your points are not in order, or some, you know, order like 100-150, and then you have, let's say, points from 500 to 505, you could do 100-150, comma 500-505, and that would work fine. But I don't have that. This is done in cross section, so these points are arbitrary, right? Whenever they ran out of points. So instead, what's easier is just pick point object. All right, and then what you can do is just simply, what I recommend you do, don't try and like find it and pick it. You can do small little crossing windows. See how I'm doing that? I'm just doing small little crossing windows and doing that. Now, of course, your first question to me is gonna be like, well, hang on a second. Why don't I just pick all of them at the, you know, with a crossing window? It does not work. Okay, it doesn't be, and the reason it doesn't work is it doesn't know the order in which you want to do them, which makes total sense. Okay, now I'm gonna make a mistake at the end here on purpose because I want to show you. Did I get that one? Actually, here's a mistake right now. So I just made a mistake. I got the wrong point right there. I meant to get this one. Oh shoot! Hit escape, undo, start all over again. No. So just think of where you are in the command. So I basically need to kind of get out of the command once, get out of the transparent command, escape once. I'm now back in the Powerline tool, but I messed up. So when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window, right? I can now go back a vertice by simply typing U spacebar. Now I'm back, I'm still in the command, and now what I can do is go to point object, and now I can basically pick the right order. So I'll do a crossing window there, and again, just crossing window. It's easier to just do and again, I messed up there. Again, no big deal. Hit escape, undo, point object, pick, and then pick. Done. Hit escape or enter, and then escape again, and now I've got my break lines and I can add them to the surface, okay? So just a little, again, that's very, very useful, especially when dealing with, survey type data, okay? All right, so the majority of all these kind of survey tools here, all right, so the ones like the bearing and distance and the angle, so you notice how I'm showing it to you to be done manually type thing, all right, and that's fine if that's what you want to do, but what I want to show you too is in the home tab, all right, the line command is just L spacebar, right? We all know that, right? So L spacebar, that begins the line command. Now, with a combination of all those different transparent command tools, you can basically do a whole bunch of stuff. So if you ever used Land Desktop back in the day, way long ago, prior to Civil 3D, I forgot what they were. I think they were just create line tools, create line and curve tools, right? So here are all these tools. And basically what these tools are simply going to prompt you exactly what you had before. So if you want to create a line by lat long, you just click this. Notice how it goes right into the lat long transparent command. It's basically skipping you 2 or 3 clicks and picks, right? So that's very useful. So again, look at the line drop down for the majority of all these tools. Now, while we're here, although these aren't transparent commands, I wanted to show you some of these tools because I use these a lot. I love these tools. They're very, very useful. So let me just start, show you an example here. All right. So I'm just going to draw a line. So how many times have you wanted to draw a perpendicular line from a specific point, okay, and get a specific distance? All right. Let's say I want to get it from the midpoint of this line and I want to get a specific distance. Now you can start the line command, sure. And then I can do perpendicular and then click, right? It does start it there, but if I try and snap, if I snap here, it doesn't do anything for me. So instead, and just so you know, this only works with lines. And actually, here's the other really cool thing. It works with lines and arcs, all right? So if I go to the line drop down, there's create line perpendicular from point. All right, so again, when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window. Select arc or line object. Let's pick the line first. Now it says specify perpendicular point. So I want to come from the midpoint. So I'll do a shift right click, M for midpoint, click. Oops, let me do that again. And then it says what? Specify distance. Well, I want 100. And there's 100 feet off of that. So that's I use that command almost day in and day out. So it's a very useful command. And again, it works with arcs as well. So I can pick any point on this arc. So let's say I've got a specific point from here. There's a driveway. There's some sort of intersection that I need to actually do something with from this arc. So I click there. What's my distance? If I want to go left, just so you know, I type -50. Or right, it depends on which way it was drawn, just so you know, that's what that's doing. Or I can go the opposite way. So I began this way, so that was left, that was right, right? So just do negative if you want to go the opposite direction. But that is a crazy useful tool. I actually love that tool. All right, the next one I want to show you is create line from end of object, right? When working with just regular AutoCAD objects, sometimes you want to just draw a tangent line and not have to worry about doing the math or drawing a perpendicular line or a 90, at the center tangent to, not tangent, but just perpendicular to the endpoint of the arc. And that gets you your point, right? I don't want to do that. So I can just click create line from object, click the arc that I want to do this from, and then what's the distance? 50. And I'm done, right? That's very, very useful. Now, if I need that to be a polyline, I just, use a join tool, and now it's joined, okay? So that tool is very, very useful too as well, okay? And then of course, there's some additional ones like create line by extension. That's a nice one here. And then create line tangent from point, right? So if I click on this one, where this is useful, right? How many times have you wanted to draw a line that's on an arc, not to make a circle out of it, and then, do the line command? You can basically pick it here, right? I can select my arc. Whoops, that's right, it's on an arc. I wish it worked with polylines, but it doesn't. So I gotta explode that real quick. And then we'll run that command again, line tangent, and then click it. And then once my point of tangency, I'll just pick somewhere. Again, let's just pick the end point of this here. And I'll pick this, whoops. And then what's my distance? 500. And so now I've got a line that's tangent right there. I mean, that's a great tool. You don't have that in regular AutoCAD, right? That's why it's so useful. One of the other things you may or may not have been noticing is if I press F2, everything you do with these commands, it gives you the northing, easting, the course, the distance, and everything. So the same applies for the arc or the curve drop down, okay? You can do, create curve between two lines. If I click on this one, what this one does, you pick your first tangent, you pick your second tangent, and then you can define the radius, the tangent, the chord length, the degree of curvature, etc., all that kind of stuff, right? So I'll just do a radius of, let's say, 100, and then, oops, I meant to do R, space bar, 100. And then, radius is too large. So let's just do that again. I'll just do like 50 or something like that. Pick this, we'll do a radius, and then we'll do 25 maybe. All right, and so that one actually trims it. Now here's the really cool thing. Again, when you press F2, it shows you everything, the northing, the easting, the PI, the tangent length, the chord length, the radius, etc. That's a really useful, very tool. And again, if you want to copy paste this into something, you can select all this, Control C, right? And then basically paste it into anything that you want to, all right? The other thing too is, of course, you can do, create a curve on two lines. That actually it basically just keeps the lines, right? So it doesn't actually delete them. And of course, you have create curve from end of object. So if I pick on that one, pick here, and then I can do it by a point or a radius. I'll pick a radius, and let's say I want to do negative 500, right? That'll go left or right depending on how it's drawn. And then I could do a length of 200, right? And so there's a radius of that. Again, if I select this and then hover, right, you'll see there's my radius, and of course my length is basically, if you look at the properties, that's the length of curve 200 right there. Okay, so again, just very, very useful kind of functionality. The last one that I do want to show you here is this curve calculator. Again, this is on the transparent commands ribbon tab as well, just so you know. Okay, and so basically this doesn't do anything with CAD data. But where it's useful is it's useful if you want to check stuff. So sometimes surveyors will be getting, or actually I've done this myself, where I've gotten a property boundary and I need to draw that property boundary, and I want to kind of make sure, let's say I drew the curves based on some other data, but then I have the alignment information, and I want to make sure that that actual alignment, or that curve on that alignment, actually is the correct geometry, because I get degree of curvature instead, or I get the arc distance, or whatever the heck I'm getting. So that way I can actually do that. And the other thing too is, you can actually, it's a calculator, so I can actually go into different parts here and type 45, press enter, and then as I type things in here and edit them, as long as I can edit these, 150, let's say, it starts to update all the different parts here. Right, so if I click on this here, my chord distance is 50. As long as it can work, that obviously couldn't work. It'll update that. The other thing you can do as well is you can click on this button here and you can select an arc, and that's very useful because then you can actually check that the math and the geometry and the labels are all correct and working like they're supposed to be. Okay. All right, so that's basically that's kind of the survey and the line work type functionality. Okay. All right, let's talk about the alignment type tools. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to go into my alignment file here, and actually, I'll go to my DSGN. So this is my geometry file. All right, so let's say I needed to draw some guardrail up here. Okay, and I know the stationing and the offset that it's supposed to be. Okay, and so to do that, you could start the line command and then basically, project certain things or whatever. But basically, if you look up here in the transparent commands, you have this station offset tool. All right, and so it's a very, very useful tool. So for instance, let's say I want to do some guardrail on the right side here from 96 plus a pair to 99 plus a pair. All right, so I'll go ahead and start the polyline tool. All right, now again, this is a straight line. So yes, if you were doing an arc, you would actually have to make sure you define, you would basically go to when you hit the PC, you just you hit escape once, it gets you back into your polyline command, and then you simply use the arc method, and then you could use the station offset tool, and it would work just fine. All right, so you could do that as well. And then of course you go to the PT, and that will draw the arc at the offset that you tell it to do. So that it is still useful around curves. I'm just showing it to you in a simplistic way here on this tangent, okay? So I'll go ahead and pick on station offset. And again, when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window, select alignment. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick my alignment. Now, with this new ribbon, now in 2019.2, as long as you're using that or above, you get this little kind of like these fields to enter here. Now, that said, with this one, you can use them. Like I'll do it for the right side here. So if I type in here 9600, you can press enter. You don't press tab. Then you click over here. I want to, let's say, be 20.5. So 20.5. Notice how it shows you the point that you're at, and then notice how it keeps continuing. So what I could do is I can lock in this offset here, click that lock button, and then I can go over here and type 9900, press enter, and notice how it draws it. I kind of like it, but honestly, I'm so used to the old way, which is pretty easy. I'm going to unlock this and I'll just use it in the view. You don't have to do this. So I can type in, I'll press escape once, that gets me out of the command, right? And then press escape again to end the command, and then PL spacebar to begin it again. And then what I can do is go to station offset. Now I want to go to the left side. So of course, first pick your alignment, right? And then now I'll type in 9600. See how I'm doing it right here in the drawing view. It's unnecessary, in my opinion, to use this up here. It doesn't really save you that much. So I'll do 96, and then I'll type in negative 20.5, and then 99, and then negative 20.5, right? And so now I've done that. And of course, this is wrong, so that's okay. I'll just go ahead and select this. And I'm using the DOT workspace here, so this is guardrail left. And now I've got the guardrail in there, okay? So that's, again, that's a very useful way of using the station offset tools. Now, that I created some stuff. Here's the other cool thing. It's not just useful for creating, or it's not just used for creating stuff. If I want to modify stuff, let's say I made a mistake here. Another tool that I love is this Analyze tool, or this List Slope tool. If you go to the Analyze tab, Inquiry Panel, you've probably heard me say it a bunch of times, this one right here, List Slope. The reason I'm going to use it here, if I were to just use the distance command, right, I'll go to the insertion point of this catch basin, which is at some elevation. And if I go perpendicular, right, I've got I got 100 feet. That is obviously not 100 feet, right? It got the slope distance, right? Because obviously it's 3D. That's why I love this tool. And that's why I put it up in my quick access toolbar, because I use it day in and day out. So P for points. Again, when you don't know what to look to the command line window. So I'll just shift right click and then do S for nearest, right? That's a shortcut to that. And then shift right click and then P for perpendicular. And if we look, my horizontal distance is 7.5. Well, that's supposed to be 11 feet off the center of the road. So that's wrong. I made a mistake. It's my fault. It's fine. But instead, what you can do, I'll go ahead and select the structure, right? I'm just picking it now. I'm going to go ahead and pick on the grip. Now, I want to use this same exact station, because I'm not supposed to change the station, but my offset is incorrect. So what you can do is go to the station offset tool. So I can go to transparent command, or if you hover, just so you know, if you wanted to, you could type in 'SO. So 'SO, I'm typing it in now. Press spacebar. Again, when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window. It says select the alignment. It immediately, you're prompted for this is called a jig. So now what I can do, I don't know the station of this. It doesn't matter. Shift right click, S for nearest, or I'm sorry, for insertion point, click that, and now I can type in 11 feet. And now it moves everything for that. So again, that station offset tool, I use it all the time. It's really, really very useful for basically when you need to just modify stuff or you need to create stuff. And again, like I said, if you're going around a radius, don't let that stop you from doing something. For instance, I mean, here, I'll just draw a polyline real quickly in this drawing, and I'll go to station offsets. We'll pick my alignment here. And then let's go at 49 plus a pair. And we'll go to the right, 20.5, press enter. And then I'll go to my PC here. I'll go to the endpoint of this, grab that. And then now we'll do 20.5, right? So now I've got that. Notice how it's drawing it. Now I want to change my method to arc, right? Because I'm in an arc. What do you do to get out of the transparent command? You press escape once, all right? Change it to arc, A spacebar. And then I'm going to go all the way down over here. Now, what I need to do is go back into the station offset tool. All right, notice how because I started the command with it and used it, it knows the alignment. So I'll just grab the PT of my PT right there, and we'll go 20.5. Right? I got it. It's beautiful. I don't have to. And then now if I want to get back into the other, go back into tangency, because I got a small little tangent, hit escape once, L for line, and then go back into it. So you don't let that make you not use the command if you're in the middle of a curve. You leverage the tools and make note of where you are in the process of the command, right? That's the key thing. And again, the way that you know that you're in a transparent command is to look at this, and you'll see the 2 greater than symbols up there. Okay, so it's very useful in that way. All right, so that's kind of the alignment, the station offset ones, and kind of where you're going to use those, okay? All right, let's talk about the profile tools now. All right, so let me go to my alignment profile file. All right, so when you're creating a profile, you obviously, it depends on what criteria you have where you may or may not need to, draw some stuff in there or get some additional information from your plan view, or know where an intersection is, or know where an elevation is, or let's say you have specific design criteria that you have to lock in for this to for it to work properly. Okay. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is that tracker thing that I was telling you about, or that I kind of mentioned. All right, so the tracker tool, there is a way to get it using transparent commands, but I'm gonna just show it to you. I leave it on all the time because when you're doing plan profile, cross section, whatever it is that you're working on, it's very, very useful to know exactly where you are when you're in this view here and then this view here, right? Or you're trying to figure it out. All right, so the first thing I like to do, a little tip here, is depending on how your alignment is structured, okay? As far as, does it go east to west, north to south, whatever. What you can do is if you go to the Analyze tab here, the tracker is right over here. So in the inquiry panel, station tracker, all viewports. And the way it works is as soon as you hover into one view, it shows you in the other view where you are. Now you'll notice that mine has two different colors. Okay, I'm going to show you how to change that in a second. Okay, just so you know. Okay, I believe it's right here actually. So it's actually just go to options right over here, and you can change it however you want. I like to change the color because everything in my CAD drawing is either yellow, usually yellow, green, or white, or some sort of white offset or white offish type color. And so I like it like red, magenta, some color that's not kind of unique, or I'm sorry, that is unique to me viewing it. Okay. All right, so one of the other little tips here that you can do when you're working in Plan a Profile is to do this. You've probably seen me do this in my other webcasts. If I go to the little minus sign, the viewport configuration list here, I can go to 2 vertical, 2 horizontal. However, I'm going to, in this case, because it's nice and long and it goes west to east, I'll do 2 horizontal. All right, that way I can stay in my plan view in one location and stay in my profile view up here. And of course, now, when I do this, you can obviously see that as I'm moving around here or moving around here, it automatically updates. That's crazy useful. That's a really useful option, okay? All right, let's go ahead and create a profile from scratch, okay? And let's actually use the transparent command so you can kind of see how this is useful, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this actually off. So the way you do that, if you're not familiar, just select the profile view, go to profile view properties. I'll just toggle off that vertical or that profile, okay? Now, a little tip here, for those of you not familiar with what I've done. So this is a reconstruction job. Basically, this is a construction project that I'm working on where we're converting a dirt road to a paved road, right? So what we like to do is basically we like to put the bottom of the sub base or the bottom of the subgrade, at the existing as close as possible. We're not going to pick all these PBIs. And basically what we do, the little trick here, and again, this has got nothing to do with transparent commands, but just showing you a trick, is I can select this profile, which is a dynamic surface profile, okay? If I try and go to the geometry editor, just so you know, if I could try and do any edits, they're all grayed out, right? Because it's a dynamic surface profile. So temporarily, what you can do is simply select this here and then right-click Profile Properties, and you just go over here and you just make it static. Whoops, wrong thing. Make it static real quickly. So I'll go to static, hit OK, and now that is a static profile. What that now allows me to do, if I go ahead and select it, I usually press Escape and then select it again, and then I'll go to my geometry editor. Now I actually have the ability to do some stuff with it. So if you look over here, I can actually, where are we here? It is the copy, copy PI tools or copy profile. All right, so right over here, I'll just copy it, and I'm gonna go from start to end, click OK. Now, just so you know, it still stays selected. So now, with it still selected, okay, I'm gonna right-click, Profile Properties, and I'm gonna go ahead and make this back to dynamic. So this way I can distinguish between the two. So notice how that one now will stay dashed, but if I click on the first one, it is actually now the dynamic one, or not, I'm sorry, the static one, okay? So what I will now do, because I like to do this, I will actually call this one, let's say I want to be a foot above. That's what my subgrade is, 9 inches of sub base or OBG, and then 3 inches of pavement, let's say. So I'll just go ahead and call this one 1 foot above. All right. And so by giving it a name, that kind of distinguishes it, right? And then what I can do now is I can actually, I'll actually also change the style from existing to, let's say, proposed, all right, just for the heck of it. And then now I'll actually go in here and there is a move PVIs. I'm sorry, not that one. Where am I? Raise or lower, it's right over here. So raise, lower PVIs, and I want to go up by a foot. And now I've got a copy of that profile, right? So you can kind of see now it's a go by. I'm not going to use this at all. It's just a go by to see, okay, here's where I want my bottom, where I want my top of my proposed profile grade to be, because the bottom is actually going to be at this here, because you don't want to dig into the optional base group. There's no reason to do that. So that way you're just a little bit above, okay? Just a little trick there to actually get this done. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, okay? All right, so back to the transparent commands for the profile. All right, so basically what you can do here is, let's say I'm ready to create a profile. Okay, little trick here. If you go ahead and just select your profile view, you can go to the profile creation tools. All right, I'll give this a name of, let's say, underscore. Always give your proposed profiles an underscore. I don't know if you know that, but just when you do modeling, that's just something that you want to do. All right, and then I'll go ahead and click OK. All right, so now I've got the profile layout tools here. Now let's say I want to start with existing. Okay, so there are a couple ways. Of course, I could just snap here, but what I want to show you is, if I go, I'll just draw tangents for now. Okay, is there are a couple of tools you can do. Now, let's say I need to start from a specific surface. This one's pretty straightforward. I could just snap, like I said, but there is actually a transparent command here. I'll show it to you in another example later on. But basically, if you look, here are the profile tools. Okay, I'm going to show you the profile tool set afterwards. I sometimes like it, but other times it's not very useful as far as from like how you're actually going to create your profile. It can, sometimes, most times it's not, okay? But if you look over here, I've got a profile and station elevation from plan. So I can go ahead and click on this right here, okay? And again, when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window. It says select the profile view. So a little trick here, just so you know, you cannot pick your band. The band does not work. It's very strange. If you try and pick the title, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Your best bet is to pick one of the sides over here. And now it looks like nothing happened, but again, when you look to the command line window, it says select a surface. Now, I happen to have this surface in here, so I'll go ahead and just pick on the border of it. And then now notice I'm in the plan view, and now I can actually snap to a specific, let's say my job has to start over here, okay? So I'll just go ahead and start, I'll snap to this point of the alignment. And now it actually created a vertice, believe it or not. Now I'll click once inside here, press escape once. And now, where am I here? It should be showing me, oh, there it is. It just didn't highlight, okay? And now I've got that in there. So you notice how it grabbed that elevation automatically for me, and now I just defined that first grade in there, okay? Let me go ahead and just modify this. Of course, that's a little too steep in there, but let's go ahead and just pick this here. A little tip here: if, let's say, you're editing a PI in a profile view, let's say I want this to be an elevation of, I don't know, let's say 106.5, okay? Again, turn and leave dynamic input on. If you go ahead and click on this, I think I mentioned this in the last webinar I did with the profile tools. Again, you can change the station right there, or tab, you can change the elevation. So 106.5, press enter, and that changes just the elevation there, okay? All right, let's say I want to continue along here. Let's say now I'm defining this proposed profile and I want to go up at specific grades, okay? So instead of me trying to figure that out, what I can do is I'll go ahead and just pick the draw tangents tool for now, okay? And now I'll go ahead and just snap to the endpoint of this line first, right? The endpoint of this, just to begin it. That will continue it here, okay? And that it should be showing me a dynamic thing here. Let me get out of this real quick. Let's do that again. Let me go ahead and just close this, because it should be showing me a rubber banding basically. So let me go ahead and select this, and we'll right click and edit profile geometry, and then we'll click on this, and we'll grab the endpoint. And for whatever reason, there must be some, I could probably exit, come back in, but that's fine. We'll just I'm not going to worry about it. All right, so let's go to the transparent commands, and right over here you have a whole bunch of stuff, okay? The first one I'll show you is profile grade station, or either one of these, profile grade station or profile grade, let's do profile grade length actually. So let's go ahead and click on this. And again, when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window. Now, you would think it should know the profile view it's coming from, but it doesn't. It would be nice if it did. But now, again, pick on the sides, all right? So now it says what? Specify grade. Let's say I want to go up at a grade of 0.5%. And then it says, okay, what length do you want? All right, so if I hover it, now just so you know, I'm actually supposed to be seeing, I think I'm gonna exit in a second, just because you should be seeing a dynamic rubber banding of the grade, and then the length here, I'll just type in 500, let's get a grade in there, there we go. So it is coming up here, but it's not working like it's supposed to. So let me go ahead and just get out of this real quick. We'll save it. And let me go back into that file here. That should resolve why we weren't seeing the kind of rubber banding that we're supposed to see. All right, so let me go ahead and select this here, and we'll go to Geometry Editor and click on Draw Tangents. And we'll pick the endpoint. Still not doing it. Okay, I must have something with the file, but it's okay, you'll get the idea. All right, so let's go to Transparent Commands again. So that was profile grade length. Now again, if you hover, you'll see, apostrophe PGL is what you would type in. All right, I can also do station elevation. So I can say, okay, let's do a station elevation here. Again, it says pick your profile view, pick the sides. All right, and then what station do you want? Let's say I want to go down to this station here. So I want to go down to 36 plus 60, so 3660. Press enter, and then what elevation do I want? I want an elevation of, let's say, 95, press enter, and notice how, of course, it's updating in the profile view. Again, when you press escape once, it gets you back in the actual command that you were in. So I was in the profile one here. So actually, let's try this fixed tangent. Maybe that'll actually show some rubber banding. Nope, it's still not showing rubber. It should be showing rubber banding basically, but again, like I said, it's actually not working. All right, so all right, so that's basically, let's say I want to actually grab a station from the plan, right? So I've got a specific location, but I want to pick it in the plan view, because let's say, let me go ahead and turn my topo back on here. So let's go ahead and right click and reload this here. I've got my palette in the other monitor here, so let's go ahead and reload. So I've got my topo, and let's say I want to go to, this location here. Where am I here? So I got my tracker should be on. I'm not seeing it. So analyze, tracker, and then all viewports. There we go. So now I'm up here. Let's say I want to go to this peak here, but I want to go to this location in the plan view. So again, I'll go over here. We'll pick the draw tangents, and we'll snap to the endpoint here. And again, you should be seeing some dynamicness going on, but it's acting weird. And so what I can do is click on the transparent tool or ribbon and click station from plan. So again, when you don't know what to do, it says pick the profile view. So I'll pick my profile view first. And then in here, now I can actually pick where I want this to be. So let's say I'm back over here. Notice how, again, why this is useful to have that tracking. So I want to go to, let's say, this location. Let's say I'm hitting a property corner for whatever reason. So I'll just snap to the endpoint of this right here. And if I click once inside here, now I'm actually back to where it says elevation. And so it says specify elevation. So let's just do like, I don't know, 110. And now I've got that. A little high, but that's okay. So just press escape here. And now I'm back in the actual command, right? So again, that's kind of using the tools. All right, let me just kind of modify this one here. Now let's say I want to see something in the profile view based upon some elevation. Let's say we're going to start kind of drafting. I'll do the down here. Let's say I want to see where I am in this location. All right, so there are a couple ways to do this, okay? The first thing I could do, let's say I just want to know where I am in this area here. I could actually, go to, I'm going to start the Powerline command. So these transparent commands work in conjunction with any command. So I can basically simply start the Powerline tool. And let's say I want to actually, I'm doing some pond design, or I've got a pond somewhere like at a specific location. I want to see where it actually is. Let's say my pond is like right over here. All right, so without having to actually kind of know exactly where that is in the profile or find the stations, I can actually just start the Powerline command, station from plan, pick the profile view, and then over here, I can say I want to go from here, and then press escape once, because I don't really care about the elevation, and then pick, did I get it? Nope, I must have missed it. Let's try that again. So let's just do Powerline, and then I'll pick station from plan, pick my profile view, click over here, and again, let's say my pond's over here. At this location, I'll click, and then now it's asking me for an elevation, so I'll click down here. And again, I don't really care where this elevation is. I just want to kind of know where it is. So I'm going to click once. And now now notice how it's actually continuing the command. So I've got now a pond up here, or the pond, let's say my pond limits is going over here. And then I can click over here and then just grab it over there. And this is where my pond area is. Again, I don't really care where the elevation is. I just wanted to know in the profile view where it is, so I can redesign the profile for getting a low or whatever. Now, let's say I have some COGO points already in my drawing, and I want to project them in here. I want to see where that is in here, so I can actually know where my wetlands are, or have, let's say you want to go below a pipe. You've got an invert somewhere, and you want to make sure you're defining your low in there. So what you can do, a little tip, first of all, the way this command works is it's a little bit hokey. I'm going to right click and I'm going to unload my reference file. Just it'll make it easier. You'll see in a second here. So I'm going to start the Powerline command again, and I want to pick on this tool right here, profile, station, and elevation from COGO points. So these actually have to have elevations. This is not like something that can just be at 0. So I'll go ahead and click on this. And guys, again, when you don't know what to do, look to the command line window. It says select the profile view. Again, pick one of your elevations on the side. And now it says select point object. So this command works a little strange. Like sometimes it finds them and sometimes it doesn't. I find if you have nothing selected but these, maybe you want to isolate the objects just to work with them. I'm going to do a crossing window here, a crossing window here, and a crossing window here. And notice how automatically it's drawing those, or that polyline, into this tool here. Now, you might say, well, how is it's drawing it? It's, a polyline has 3D elevations. Well, this is just a polyline in this view. So it just shows it to you in 3D what that view should look like, okay? So those are just some really very useful tools to working with, to creating profile and just being able to design the profile. Now, time's coming up here. I want to leave some time for questions and answers. I want to show you this profile tool set. It's new from 2019.2 and above. Like I said, I sometimes have used it, but for the most part, these tools are really intuitive. I guess they were just trying to kind of make it work a little faster. Let me just go ahead and delete this one. And let's just start again from scratch. Let's say I want to draw, another profile. So I'm going to go ahead and select my profile view, profile creation tools. We'll call this 2. Click OK. And we'll just start to draw tangents. So starting to draw tangents, right? And now, if I go to the transparent commands, when you click this profile tool set, what it does, it automatically, as you can see, which is kind of nice, it does this split view for you. If you want to split a specific view or do something different, just go to Edit Viewport Configuration right here, and you can pick alignment, profile, 2 horizontal, 2 vertical, however your alignment is working, and then basically you can just, click OK, and it'll redo the viewports for you, okay? This tracker is also available right here, all right? And notice how that tracker options is also available to change it, all right? So again, as you're doing stuff in here or here, it'll show up in there, okay? So again, I can zoom in up here. It just does it for you. So it's kind of a nice functionality. Now I got to restart the command because I went to that command. So here's what you have. Notice how you have this thing popping up over here. So there's a couple of things that you can do here. So first of all, I'm going to snap to this point here, which is just my existing. Let's say this job is starting right there. Now, again, you should be seeing some rubber banding, but it's not showing up. It's just not working. So I'm going to go ahead and snap over here because that's where this needs to end. Now, excuse me, let's say from here, I want to go down at a specific grade and length. So here's where you can use this profile tool set. Again, I sometimes use it, but it seems very cumbersome. Just try and use it once, see if you like it, and if you don't, just go back to the old tools. They work pretty good, okay? Oops, let's not show that again, not right now. All right, so I'm gonna type a length right here. So the way this works is you gotta press enter. It's kind of weird, but that's how it works. So I'll type in, let's say I wanna do 500 feet, all right? And now I wanna do a grade of -0.1, enter. Notice how it's drawing it for you. All right, see how this kind of works? Let's say I want to go to a specific station. I'll toggle this off. Click over here, click up here, and go to, let's say I want to find a high. Let's say I want to go, I don't know, we'll go up here. All right, so I'm going to go to like that station right there. It locks in the station. And then I can go in here, I can do a length, or I can give it an elevation. I can, let's say, okay, what's my elevation? Let's say I want to do, actually, I don't know what my elevation is going to be, just so you can hover here. Let's go 114. So 114, enter. Notice how it's doing it for me automatically. Now I can go down at a grade of, let's say negative 0.3, enter. You can go the whole point of this is you can do one or the other, right? You can go back and forth, different sides. I can now go into the length category, toggle this on, and type a length of 300, enter. Notice how it's doing it for me in this view, automatically, okay? So again, I've used it once or twice, but I gotta be honest with you, the other tools are really so easy, and I kind of like the way of their dynamic nature. And plus, you're usually picking kind of spots within the profile that you need to kind of pick. Whereas here, I think I can pick I can pick an elevation. Yeah, there you go. You can actually pick the elevation. Let me pick in here. Is it picking it? It's actually not picking it, is it? No, so let me try that again. Pick here and pick that. No, it's not clicking it. Let me toggle off length here. Yeah, there we go, because length was popped up. So if I pick over here, should be picking it. It's supposed to grab, oh, there we go. It's grabbing the elevations automatically for me. See how it's doing that now? So that's how it just does it for you, okay? So again, you could do all that through this tool. And then when you're done, just click close. The nice thing is it'll put your viewport back, configuration the way you had it, okay? So basically that's kind of you can use that if you wanted to, but like I said, these are all really useful in that, I don't find the need to use that. The last thing I want to show you here is, let's say I'm going to do this side road here, okay? I'm going to create a profile for this. We'll do profile creation tools, and we'll call this one 3. And I'll click OK here. So the key thing, the nice thing about this here, again, let's say I want to grab the elevation from this proposed model. Let's say I haven't modeled this part yet. I modeled the main line to get the elevation I need, for the center line right here. So I'll just basically just grab it by simply going to the transparent commands, and I'll grab profile station elevation from plan, right? And I'll click on that again. So actually, I got to first start the tool, and we'll pick this. And again, it says pick profile view. You pick your profile view. You pick your surface next. And then you pick the point. So this is at the beginning of my alignment. So again, dynamic inputs on 300 plus a pair, press enter. And again, I can press escape once. That gets me out of the, oh, now it's working in this one. You got me. So for some reason, it was working in that profile view. So now you can see it working. Well, now I want to do a profile grade length. I'm gonna go down 2% for 12 feet, which is the width of my road, right? Now, here's where you could use the tool set, that profile tool set, I guess. Let me show it to you right here. So if I pick on that, now what I can do is I'll pick on that again. Oh, actually it got rid, oh, it stopped the command. That's one thing I don't like. You see how it stopped it? All right, let's do that again. So now I could actually start over here. Let's go to the transparent commands. Let's do this. So I guess I should have started that first. We'll do 300. Let's do this here. So 300 plus a pair. Oops, am I doing the wrong one? Let's try that again. Let's pick here. Oh, there we go. It did grab it. So notice how it's grabbing. Whoops, let me maximize that. So notice how it is, where are we? Okay, so I haven't done it again. Let's try that one more time. So sometimes they can be a little bit touchy. Let's do that again. All right, so I'll pick my profile view. I'll pick my surface, and then I'll 300, 0, press enter. And notice how now it's letting me keep going, but if I press escape once, it does this. Now I can go back to my tool set, and I can say, okay, I want you to go for a length of 12, enter, at a grade of -2%, enter. Notice how it's now doing it. See that right there? So it does have some uses. For here, I would toggle the length off. Let's say I want, my job is supposed to end at a specific station. So I'm going to go ahead and go to, let's say 303.50. So 303.50, press enter. That locks that in. And then for an elevation, I can go up here. I think I should be able to type this in here. So I'm going to go ahead and snap here, and then just do nearest, right? And there's my profile. So the tool set can be used in some instances, but for the most part, I got to be honest with you, I've actually just mostly used just the regular transparent commands there. Okay. Okay, that is all I have. Let's go back to the slideshow. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Seth. It looks like we do have a couple questions. First one I see here, can you use the curve calculator to edit an existing curve?
And the answer is no, you can't. So basically, in here, all right, you cannot, if let's say I have an arc here, and I go to the curve calculator. I do wish it would do this, but it doesn't. Like there's no apply button. I can grab the parameters of that curve, but I cannot hit apply, like change this and hit apply. That would be really useful, but you can't do that.
Okay, thank you. Another question I'm seeing. I don't see my transparent commands tab, just the toolbar.
So basically that actually was a bug in a few versions. So if your transparent command, transparent ribbon tab does not appear, but just the toolbars appear, what you do is you type in CUI, Customize User Interface Dialog. All right. And what you're going to have to do is basically you're going to have to go to your workspace right over here. All right, and you're gonna have to click on Customize Workspace, and this does happen. Basically, when you, if you let's say you do an update to 2019, it sometimes didn't appear in different workspaces, and so what you have to do is you would go to the ribbon here and go to Ribbon Tabs, and I believe if you scroll down to the bottom, Civil 3D Transparent Commands, you would have to toggle it on, and then it would appear here in the bottom. Okay, so that would make it come back on, and then now you'll have it in your. You just hit done, and then you'll have it in your workspace. So that was an issue some time ago, and so that's how you can kind of turn it back on.
Okay,
Any other questions?
Yeah, one last question. It says, this DWG is 3D or 2D for the lines?
It depends on what you're doing, honestly. So all DWGs, just so you know, are 3D DWGs. That's just they all are. I can give a Z to anything. That said, if I am, like for instance, if I'm doing the points, if you were talking about the points as far as this actually, if I were to hover over this or select this polyline, go to the properties palette, it has grabbed the first elevation of the first point. So yes, it is a 3D. Now this isn't the polyline is only 2D, so it's flat, but it's flat at elevation one, at the first point you pick. Now if you want it to be 3D, let's say you want to actually have a 3D polyline or a feature line, whatever, I would just start the 3D polyline command, and let's say I'm going to use these 423 to, do the water's edge here. So I'll do 423 to 428. So I can now pick on the point number, and I'll do 423-428, and I'll hit escape. And this 3D polyline, look down here on the status bar, okay, in the coordinates. That's 152.39. That's 152.09, right? So it will actually work in the 3D or the 2D. It depends on what you're doing and what Civil 3D data you are grabbing. Any other questions?
Looks like that's all for the questions.
All right.
So to wrap it up, we want to thank you again for attending this webinar. Be on the lookout for any future webinars that we have. And if you have any more questions, please contact us at 305-445-6480, or you could send us an email at info@ddscad.com. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.